A very good morning to you once again, Leanne. I'm surrounded by the beautiful sounds of the Free State choristers. The ladies looking ravishing this morning, dressed in white, almost as beautiful, or maybe even more beautiful than the doves that will be released a little bit later today, a symbol of peace in South Africa. It's very difficult to speak about reconciliation without mentioning my next guest, the Vice Chancellor of the Free State University, Professor Jonathan Jansen, and he's possibly the coolest Vice Chancellor I've ever met. Not only is he swagging with a cap today, but he introduces himself as DJ Black Coffee, and he goes around like a celebrity and greeting everybody. Prof, a very good morning to you and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
You were both loved and loathed when you first started at the University of the Free State because of your efforts to reconcile. How have you adjusted thus far?
Well, reconciliation is always a tough business. You know, if you take this beautiful museum, it's a museum that shows how black and white people fought together and fought against each other, fought on various sides. And we are entangled, whether we like it or not. We are tied up together in our past, and we are tied up together into our future. And the question for anybody that does reconciliation is, how do we just get along on the one hand, but also better still, how do we begin to embrace each other? And one way to do that is to recognize each other's memories, the bad memories and the good memories, and try to figure out how we together, having been entangled in the past, work together to solve the pressing problems of the present, whether it's education or the problem of drought or the problem of corruption. So, reconciliation never makes you friends alone. It also makes you enemies. And that's the nature of this incredible project in which the University of the Free State, I think, took a very courageous set of steps. And today we see the results. And the results is that at the very least we have our students getting together. Got a long way to go, but we're very happy with where we are at the moment.
There's some talk that the dream of 1994 and this Rainbow Nation was exactly that, just a dream, that in reality it has not come to pass, and that it was very superficial in its efforts to reconcile. It was like putting a Band-Aid on a gaping wound, and that in fact we need to go back there and unearth that pain and relive the tragedy there and deal with that history before we can move forward, instead of, just let's get along. What are your thoughts on that?
People tend to have short memories. People forget that from the mid-1980s onwards up to 1994, we had a very, very violent standoff, between the forces of darkness, the apartheid state and so on, and the people represented by Nelson Mandela and the broad liberation movements. If Nelson Mandela had not said, there's no revolution here, we're going to have to work together to figure out how to get along, we would have had a very protracted, bloody struggle. So it's very easy this side of the century, to say, why don't you guys just unearth everything and so on. It was a different time. It required us to give and to take. And I think having done that, the challenge today is not to go back there, but to say, what do we do with the peace dividend? What do we do with the opportunity given by Madiba and many others for us to have a different kind of country? Okay, going back is going to just destroy us. What we need to do is go forward. But going forward, we have to go together. And that means finding a way to talk to each other about privilege, about racism, about togetherness, and so on and so forth. So no, there's too many smart people in this country, too many committed people in this country on all sides of this rainbow for us to give up now and go back to the darkness out of which we came. So I'm very optimistic. I work with 30,000 students every day. I can tell you now, there are grounds to be optimistic that together we can get out of this. And that means taking a hard look at where we are, where we failed, and try to correct that, but always going forward.
I want to talk about where we are in about 15 seconds or so. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being completely reconciled and 1 being there is still a long, long way to go, where would you put South Africa in terms of the, shall we call it, reconcilometer?
Well, I think we're at number 5. We're in the middle somewhere, okay, because you can't just focus on reconciliation without simultaneously focusing on social justice. So it's also about repairing what was wrong, not just reconciling what was separate. And again, I think we have the resources to be able to do that.
All right, we'll have to leave it there. The Vice Chancellor in the University of the Free State, Professor Jonathan Jansen. And of course, today's proceedings are a launch of a reconciliation Reconciliation Month in December, in the build-up to the 16th. A number of activities have been happening and will continue to happen. We'll bring you all those details a little bit later. Up next, though, I can tell you the weather here is absolutely beautiful, but what is it looking like across the country? Tsiyetsi's got the latest for you.